And let's share my screen. And okay, thank you guys very much for joining us for today's session of Why We Are Sick. My name is Dr. Wayfun, and I'm a board certified physician in internal medicine and pediatrics. And I start by asking us this simple question: why are we so sick today? And ladies and gentlemen, the answer is simpler than you think. We are sick because we eat in ways that harm our body's natural biology. You see, food is supposed to be medicine, or in the same light, it can be poison. And unfortunately, for most of us, food is poison. We eat in a way that has affected two key systems in our body. And what are those two key systems? Those two key systems are how the body makes energy and how the gut functions. You can draw a direct correlation to how the body makes energy to the reason why we are sick, and a direct correlation to how the gut functions to the reason why we're sick. These two entities are why we are so sick today. And what I'd like to do is, I would like to go ahead and take entity number one and tie it to why we are sick, and take entity number two and show you how it relates to why we are sick. So, beginning with entity number one, how the body makes energy. The body makes energy dependent on a hormone called insulin. Insulin is a very critical hormone in our body because it sits central at procuring the body's energy needs. And how insulin does that is by this means. Every time we eat, right? Every time we eat, the end product of absorption is the release of glucose into the blood. Insulin's job is to mobilize that glucose out of our blood into the cell. So glucose is released in the blood anytime we consume calories. Insulin has to get that glucose from the blood into the cell. That's insulin's job. Now, when glucose is gotten into the cell by insulin, there is a special organelle in the cell here. We call that organelle the mitochondria. In simplicity, the mitochondria is just an energy factory. In the mitochondria, the glucose is run through the mitochondria and then the spits out an energy molecule called ATP, adenosine triphosphate. So this ATP is an energy molecule. That's how insulin secures the body's energy needs by running glucose through the mitochondria, the energy machine, and resulting in that energy molecule. Now, I want you guys to understand this, and it's very simple here. Every cell in your body needs energy to function. The smallest entity of the body is a cell that groups up to form tissues, which then group up to form organs, which then group up to form the whole man. Systems which group up to form the whole man. Every single cell in the body requires energy to function. And insulin is so pivotal because insulin secures that energy need. Now, when a cell has the energy that it needs to function, the cell functions well. When a cell does not have the energy that it needs to function, the cell malfunctions. The simplest definition of a disease is a group of cells, tissues, organs, or system that has malfunctioned because it lacks the energy that it needs to function well. So that's how important insulin is, and that's how insulin secures the body's energy needs. Now, there is something we call insulin resistance. And what that is when there is a breakdown in the process of insulin securing the body's energy needs. That breakdown, we give it a fancy medical term called insulin resistance. Now, and right here, insulin resistance. It just simply means that insulin can no longer secure the body's energy needs through this process. Now, what causes that? Because we were once created perfectly, our bodies were designed perfectly. What has all of a sudden caused us to develop insulin resistance? And the answer is simple. Again, simpler than you think. You see, uh, we are consuming way more calories than our ancestors did. Way more calories than our ancestors did. It is estimated that in today's day and age, we're consuming about 35% more calories. You may ask, what are the implications of that? How does that factor into insulin resistance? You see, every time we eat, glucose is released into the blood, and each time glucose is released into the blood, insulin is going to be called to action, is going to be called to action. So imagine if you had a job and your employer on that job told you, hey, I'm going to pick on Debbie, you have a job, and your employer says, hey, Debbie, on this job you're going to work overtime once every year. You're going to be like, nah, that's nothing. I can do that. But if that same employer comes to you and says, Debbie, on this job, I'm going to expect you to work 35% overtime every day, what's going to happen to you is that you're going to burn out. And when you burn out, Debbie, as an employee, you become an ineffective employee, your productivity goes down. So, what happens is that because we are consuming 35% more calories than our ancestors did hundreds and hundreds of years ago, insulin is now working 35% over time, and insulin has gotten burned out. When insulin gets burned out, insulin becomes an ineffective employee and its productivity goes down. It could no longer secure the body's energy needs. So that's how you develop insulin. That's how you develop insulin resistance because of a burnout. You see, they say in a single can of a Coke, there is more sugar in a single can of a Coke than you and I, our ancestors, would have consumed their whole lifespan. So just to put that into context. Now, so when you develop insulin resistance, remember, I defined the disease as a group of cells, tissues, organs, or system that has malfunctioned because of the lack of energy. When you develop insulin resistance, what now happens is that critical systems, cells that need the energy to function, malfunction. You now develop the high blood pressure, the Alzheimer's, the fatty liver, and all of that. So that is this slide here is just simply a depiction of a small proportion of the diseases that are caused by insulin resistance. It's not an end all be all. Unfortunately, there's so many other disease entities that we cannot put on this slide. So that's number one. Let's go to the second issue, how the gut functions and how that factors into why we are sick. The function of the gut depends on the population of bacteria in the gut. We have a population of bacteria in our gut that helps determine the function of the gut. Now, what do I mean by that? Inside our gut is a population of about 30 to 100 trillion bacteria called the microbiome. And this population of bacteria help determine the functions of the gut. Uh, Now, the gut plays a very important function in our health, very important. And one of the functions of the gut is that it helps to regulate and train the immune system. And when the gut is functioning, when the gut is healthy, what happens is it trains the immune system to be able to do its job. Our immune system is supposed to go to come to our defense. Now, the health of the gut now depends on the proportion of this bacteria in the gut. You see, these bacteria in the gut live in a 50-50% proportion. Okay, 50% of the bacteria in the gut are what you call bad bacteria, and the other 50% of bacteria in the gut are what you call good bacteria. This proportion of good and bad bacteria are important in the health of the gut. Now, there is something we call on this slide are other functions of the gut, but I just wanted to highlight the immune system here. There is something we call gut imbalance. And what is gut imbalance? It's a scenario where the bad bacteria now outnumber the good bacteria. You lose that 50-50% proportion. So you have a scenario where the bad bacteria now increase to, say, 70%, and the good bacteria decrease to, say, 30%. The loss of that 50-50 balance is proportion is what we call gut imbalance. And what when you have when you have gut imbalance, it now compromises the functions of the gut. You have to ask, what causes gut imbalance? Everything has a root cause. And gut imbalance, again, remember in this first slide, I said we eat in the ways that affect these two key systems. Gut imbalance is caused by the shortage of food. And you may say, Doc, what do you mean by the shortage of food? You just told us that we are consuming way more calories than our ancestors did. Now, what do you mean by the shortage of food? You see, the shortage of a particular kind of food. You see, in today's day and age, we are not consuming enough fiber. And the food for the bacteria in the gut is fiber. Our foods are so processed. Food manufacturers have taken out the fibers from our food. And because of that, we are taking in very little fiber. And these bacteria in the gut, their chow, their nutrients is fiber. And because of that, there is a shortage of fiber that this bacteria is receiving. When that shortage of food, in that situation of the shortage of food, what happens is that you now have a tussle, a survival of the fittest tussle. When you have a situation of scarcity or like that, there is scramble for who can get what I call survival of the fittest. So what happens is that in this tussle, the bad bacteria are the stronger bacteria. They win the survival of the fittest fight over the shortage of food. And when they win the survival of the fittest fight, what they say to them is they say they hoard the little fiber that is there. And then they say to themselves, you know what? We don't have enough fiber for us, the bad guys and the good guys. Since we're stronger, let's go ahead and increase our army to keep a monopoly on this little food that is there. So what happens now is that the bad bacteria now increase their army at the expense of the good bacteria to keep a monopoly on the little food, which causes that gut imbalance. And and just to give you a context of how much fiber we are eating today that's causing this shortage. A man is supposed to consume recommendations 38 grams of fiber a day, and a woman is supposed to consume women at least 25 grams of fiber a day. In the United States, the NIH estimates that the average man and woman is consuming a shameful 10 to 12 grams of fiber a day. That is less than 50% of the required dietary intake. You see, our ancestors, your grandpapa and your great great grandpapa and my great great grandpapa were consuming about 80 to 90 grams of fiber a day. So when you have that shortage, you have the gut imbalance. And when you have gut imbalance, it causes you to have disease entities that stem from gut imbalance. And you start having illnesses like lupus, an autoimmune disease. An autoimmune disease is a disease that the it's a disease that the immune system has now attacked you. Instead of the immune system protecting you, the immune system has turned its back on you and has attacked you. Lupus, Hashimoto's, celiac, multiple sclerosis, all autoimmune diseases because the gut is not healthy and can no longer regulate the immune system. There are many other disease entities here. Colon cancer is now on the rise in young people to the extent that I think the American, I think it was the American Cancer Society decreased the age, or the American GI Society actually decreased the age of screening for colon cancer to even younger. And colon cancer is directly related to the deficiency of fiber in our diet. Big studies on that. Now, I want to highlight anxiety and depression. If you find it surprising that anxiety and depression stems from the gut, you see, there is a hormone called serotonin, and this hormone, serotonin, is our happy hormone. This hormone helps to maintain our happiness and our mood. And did you know that 90% of that hormone is produced in the central nervous, is produced in the gut? I beg your pardon. 90% is produced in the gut. And the other 10% of that hormone is produced in the central nervous system. That's something that I never knew as a doctor in medical school. I never knew that serotonin was principally produced in the gut. Now, if the gut is unhealthy, it means that the factory is not working. If the factory is not working, then the factory cannot put out 90% of its product. If the factory cannot put out 90% of its product, then you're now only reliant on 10% being produced by the brain. It's no wonder people with gut imbalance are at high risk of anxiety and depression. So, this is how these two entities are the reason why we are so sick today, how our body makes energy and how our gut functions. Now, in as much as these two things are the reasons why we are so sick today, there is some good news here. There is now overwhelming scientific evidence that if you can go back and restore the way the body makes energy and restore the balance of the gut, which caused an energy shortage, then the diseases that came as a result of that energy shortage are gonna go poof, disappear, are going to be reversed. And that should be good news to us. And I'll ask you guys this. Our ancestors 500 years ago, 1,000 years ago, why is it that they did not have these diseases? They were not that sick as we were. Is it because they had the state of the art hospitals? No. Is it because they had the best medicines? No, modern medicine did not exist at that time. Is it because they had the best doctors? No, that didn't exist at that time either. It's because they ate in ways that sustained insulin activity and sustained the gut. So if we can go back and reverse those two entities, those disease conditions that came as a result of those will also go poof. And I want you to understand something. Let me give you a simple analogy. Some of us are from Texas, and 6 years ago there was a huge snowstorm that came through Texas, and there was a huge power outage in a good chunk of the state. Now, when that power outage was going on, there was an energy deficiency, an energy shortage. If you were in a power outage like that, your fridge will not function. Your fridge will go off and not function. Why does the fridge in a situation of a power outage go off? Is it because there's intrinsic failure of the fridge? No. It's because the energy source of the energy to power the fridge is not there. So people who were living in that time, their refrigerators were not working. But what happened when the power outage was restored? Those refrigerators came back to life. It's the same thing as the body. When there is a deficiency of energy, things stop working. It's just like the appliance, the fridge stops working because it doesn't have that energy. You now restore that power outage, restore the energy, and now the fridge can now turn on. It's just as simple as that. These modern day diseases that we face as a result of a global energy shortage. And if you could restore that energy shortage by addressing the root cause, those diseases go away. And so I want to present to you a solution that has become a very favorite thing as a physician in helping patients do just that. And that solution is called the Feel Great System, which is a nutraceutical product. And what it does is that it uses the science of intermittent fasting and fiber supplementation to reverse the energy problem, the insulin resistance, and reverse the gut imbalance. And nutraceuticals are just simply products that are made 100% from plants. And so I want to take each of them and show you how those two things, using science of intermittent fasting and fiber, how they will go to reverse the root cause of why we're sick. Both of these products, if there are any people, anybody on this on here today who is in the health field, maybe you're a nurse, maybe you're a pharmacist, maybe you're a doctor, you'll find it interesting to learn that both of these products are listed in the physician's desk reference. So Unamate, how do we use it? It's a product that is made from a plant native to this South America called the yerba mate plant. And the plant is very rich in a special phytonutrient called chlorogenic acid. And chlorogenic acid has one of the properties, it has many other properties that benefit our metabolic health. But one of the important properties of chlorogenic acid is that it induces the body's ability to produce the hormone called GLP-1, which you may have heard of in drugs like Monjaro or Zempic. And we're going to show you how we can use that property to help reverse the energy problem and the insulin resistance. Remember, we want to use the science of intermittent fasting. How does that work? You see, our ancestors were consuming maybe a meal and a half a day, whereas today we're eating 35% over time. The average American is eating about 11 times a day. We are grazing like cows on a Texas ranch, and what that has done over and over and over and over again has caused our insulin to become burnout. So I'm going to now pick on Dr. Natasha. If Dr. Natasha is given a job and Dr. Natasha gets burned out because she has walked 35% over time, the only way Dr. Natasha is going to recuperate from that burnout is if she rests. And that's what intermittent fasting does. So we recommend that we should go back to simulating something similar to what our ancestors did. Instead of eating 11 times a day, eat 2 times a day. So we recommend that you drop breakfast and begin a discipline of intermittent fasting where you're fasting for 16 hours, no longer eating breakfast and eating just lunch and dinner. Now, how does this all play together with the GLP-1 property of the Unamate? You see, when you sip on this product, each time you sip on it, it causes the body to produce its own GLP-1. So what we want you to do is not to have breakfast, to have lunch and dinner. And I'll demonstrate it like this. Let's say I have dinner at 7 p.m. and then I wake up in the morning at 7 a.m. I go to bed after dinner and not eat anything else. So from 7 p.m. to 7 a.m., I've been fasting already for 12 hours. And what we want to do is we want to now help you extend your fast by another 4 hours. Because the longer you are fasting, remember, insulin got burnt out because insulin has worked 35% over time and became an ineffective employee. Productivity dropped. To get insulin back to be an effective employee in securing the body's energy needs, we need to rest it from its burnout. And when you're fasting, you're not bringing in calories. Insulin is not being employed by your pancreas to do any work. So insulin is resting. So we want to help you rest your insulin for long. The longer you rest your insulin, which the science says 16 hours is a good time to start having the effect, the longer insulin recuperates from the burnout. So I'll demonstrate to you how I use this product and how it helps me extend my fast from 12 hours to 14 hours. When you order the product, it comes in a bottle like this. So the bottle is graduated right here that says Unimate. So what I do, I wake up in the morning after I've been fasting for 12 hours overnight, and I make a bottle of this. So this product, it is the inside the sachet as powder. The yerba mate plant, has been processed, just minimally processed and put into a powder form in this sachet. So what I do is I wake up in the morning and all I do is, yeah, I make a bottle. I fill that bottle to this Mac here that says Unimate, and then I just empty the powder into it. Okay. After emptying the powder into it, what I do is I just shake that to dilute it. And after I shake it, all I need to do is to just sip on it every 10 to 15 minutes throughout the morning. Just little sip every 10 to 15 minutes. And every time I sip on it every 10 to 15 minutes, there is a burst of GLP-1s produced produced by my body that goes to my hunger center in my brain and calms the hunger center of my brain or turns it off so that I can fast without feeling it's like it's impossible. There's some people who are not able to fast without feeling like World War III is about to start. This takes away the problem of World War III initiation. It makes it very seamless. And so I do that every 10 to 15 minutes throughout the morning. You don't want to gulp this. And each time you do that, it causes the body to produce its own GLP-1s. Many of you here may not know that the GLP-1, which are synthetic drugs that the pharmaceutical company is selling, that hormone is naturally produced in the body. The pharmaceutical companies have gone in the body, harnessed that hormone, made a synthetic clone, and giving it to people as a drug for weight loss. But this can help with that just as important, just as much. And so it helps you to fast. When you fast now, what happens is you're resting, you're not bringing in glucose in the fasting state. When you're not bringing in glucose, the insulin is only called to come to work when glucose is on the scene. So when you're not bringing in glucose, there's no need for insulin to be working. And if insulin got burnt out because of overworking, insulin now will be resting. And when it rests, it recuperates from its burnout and can now go back to procuring the body's energy needs. So that's how the Unimate helps to restore the energy shortage and the balance. Now, the Unimate has many other properties. I just single out the property of the GLP-1 property in helping you to fast as well as satiety, because that's one of the core components we are using to reverse the insulin resistance problem. But there are many other properties. It helps with energy. It causes what you call increases the efficiency of the mitochondria. The mitochondria is the energy is the energy organelle in the cell that makes ATP. So it reinforces its productivity, gives it what we call metabolic flexibility. It makes it to work better, more efficiently. Other things, it helps with brain fog. It helps with cholesterol control, helps with fat burning in lipolysis, which is also tied to insulin's ability to do its job well. But I just wanted to focus on just this GLP-1 effect, because that's what we use principally to help you to be able to reverse the energy problem through using the intermittent fasting as an adjunct. Now, the other product is the balance product. The balance product also helps to reverse the energy problem. What is balance? Balance is just simply fiber taken from 7 different plants. Fiber is also very important in resting your insulin. Absolutely important. And I will show you what I mean by that. Fiber helps to decrease the amount of glucose that you're going to you're going to you're it helps to decrease the amount of carbohydrate absorption. It decreases carbohydrate absorption, so it decreases the glucose release into the blood. In another way, you could put it like this: fiber causes you to have a lower blood sugar. How does it do that? It slows the transit of food through the colon. When food goes through the GI tract, when food goes through the GI tract slowly, it's gonna cause a slow release of glucose into the blood, and vice versa. And I like depicting it like this: if Dr. Natasha, if you and I went to Italian restaurant to have lasagna, and you ate your lasagna without fiber, this is what your blood sugar profile will look like. And that may be a blood sugar of 160. If I knew a thing or two about fiber which you did not know, and I knew that this balanced product was rich in fiber, and what I did was I consumed this balanced product, and then I ate the exact same quantity of lasagna that you did, what's going to happen is that my blood sugar is going to look like this. And that blood sugar for me may be a blood sugar of 80. It's crazy. You and I have eaten exactly the same plate of lasagna, exact same quantity. Your blood sugar's gone up to 160, mine 80, and the only difference was that I had fiber first. Now, what are the implications of that? Dr. Natasha, because you have produced 160 of glucose, your pancreas is going to have to put to work more insulin to address that blood sugar of 160. For me, because my blood sugar has only gone up to 80, my pancreas is going to produce a commensurate or employ a commensurate low amount of insulin to go to work. So for me, my pancreas will say, hey, 5 units of insulin, come to work here. Now, if insulin is burnt out because it's been working 35% over time, it's advantageous for you not to work it more. So, Dr. Natasha, when you're now having 20 units of insulin working, you're remaining in this compromised state where more of your insulin is continuing to stay burned out. Whereas if I'm having only 5 of my insulin working, 5 units, it means that 15 units of them are rested. So fiber helps to rest your insulin. And the more your insulin rests, the more your insulin recuperates from its burnout. And that's the importance of fiber. The other thing is that fiber it helps to reverse the gut imbalance problem. Fiber is food for the bacteria in the gut. Remember the way we develop the shortage, the way we develop the gut imbalance when you lost the 50-50% proportion is because of a fiber deficiency. You now just start giving the bacteria in the gut the fiber that it needs. What happens is that there is now enough food for the bad bacteria and the good bacteria, and there's no more need for infighting. The good and the bad bacteria now can coexist without any survival of the fetus. And that is how fiber helps to restore these two things. And I end again by saying that these disease entities that we face today are the result of these two things: how the body makes energy, how the gut functions. And if we can restore those two things, you could reverse the disease conditions and you could reclaim your health again. So thank you guys very much for listening. I am going to stop
Dr.
sharing
Tiffany
my
is on.
screen and I am gonna turn it over to. Thank you. I heard you said Dr. Tiffany is on. I arranged with Dr. Natasha. I'm going to turn it over to Dr. Natasha to um, take it from here and show us some testimonies. And then after that, we can take some questions. I am going to put Dr. Tiffany on, Dr. Esther Gary on the panel of doctors, so that they can help me with answering some questions that will come on. So, Dr. Natasha, and before Dr. Natasha goes, I want to introduce Dr. Natasha. Dr. Natasha is a very close friend of mine and colleague. Dr. Natasha and I happen to go to medical school together. She's a pediatrician, and Dr. Natasha is one of the reasons why I have gotten involved in doing this, in taking the good news of the science that our diseases are reversible. Dr. Natasha, thank you so much for introducing me to this hopeful message, and please help us with the next phase with some testimonies and pictures. Thank you. We can't hear you, Dr. Natasha. You need to unmute. Is oh,
I wasn't at all.
great. Now we can hear you.
Yes, thank you so much, Dr. Dieter, for this wonderful, wonderful presentation and for you really taking this task at the helm and sharing it with the world. We are so lucky to have you. And thank you so much for the opportunity to share this as well. I will say that I don't have access right now to the photos, and so I could absolutely go through it with if you share your own screen. I don't have access to the photos
Okay.
right now with me.
Okay.
However, just to give
Okay.
anyone,
Let's do this. I will share my
yes,
photos and we can go from there.
yes. But thank you so much. Does anyone have any questions while we do that? I know that some people were asking if they work night shift, how will they go about doing this? And it would literally be the opposite. So the concept is still the same. The idea is you want to drink the Unamate in the morning or before you break your very first meal. So you want to push out your first meal as much as possible, and you can still drink it in between your meals. And so you can just do the opposite of anyone else who does it in the morning. But thank you for asking. Yes, wonderful. All righty. So we have our very own, your wonderful presenter, Dr. Dieter. So before I introduce this to Dr. Dieter had already discovered the cause of many of our chronic diseases having to do with insulin resistance. So he was already starting his intermittent fasting journey. And the first picture was him running several miles every single day, fasting, and he did lose weight. But as you can see, when I introduced him to it, he still had some insulin resistance left in his system. And therefore, when he started the system without working out, he stopped running every single day. He was able to gain muscle and lose additional fat. And not only that, he said he slept better, he had more energy, and he just felt different. And he felt that within the first couple of weeks. So even he saw benefits on it. Even when you think you're healthy, there's always you can always keep up with your health or improve it slightly. So Dr. Dieter was the first experiment for himself, and now his whole entire family is on it, including his kids and his breastfeeding wife. So that's the incredible power of the system. And this is Dr. Dieter's twin sister who lives back home in Cameroon. So Dr. Dieter, as soon as he found out about the system, he quickly spread it to his closest family members, his friends. And so he sent some of the packages back home to Cameroon, and his sister was dealing with her own health issues, including, inability to lose weight and some women issues as well. And she felt fantastic. As you can see in the second picture, her face is lit up, her eyes are brighter, and she lost weight. And she's also a huge advocate for the system back home in Cameroon. And of course, Dr. Dieter can chime in too if he wanted to give more specifics on his twin sister's journey. But that was her journey as well.
All right. And the next picture, you guys may recognize this
Oh,
person.
yes, that's me. And funny enough, the very first picture was me in my balcony in residency, doing 12-hour shifts, 24-hour shifts in the ICU and stress beyond belief. And I've tried everything. I was dealing with my own health issues, of course, obesity and prediabetes, but also the stresses of residency, made me have anxiety and depression and a lot of gut health issues. I wasn't able to, tolerate a lot of gluten, even though I was not gluten sensitive. And so basically, I did all of the things that I thought I should do until I was introduced to this system by my very nurse, Kim, and she started it for her own health issues. And I saw her labs change completely. So I did it. And I was able to lose weight in a sustainable manner and gain muscle as well. And not only that was the fact that my gut issues improved dramatically. So I no longer was scared of eating pasta and feeling bloated all night. And not only that, like I said, this is the only thing I've ever done in my life that's been so sustainable that a year and a half later, I'm still drinking my tea and sharing it with as many people as I can. So thank you so much for heeding the
All right.
call.
I'm going to cherry pick and show a couple more because I would like us to highlight Keith and also highlight Jim Grasser to share his testimony.
And this is Kim, the nurse who introduced me to the system. So without me, Kim, I wouldn't be here. And of course, Dr. Dieter wouldn't be here as well. So thank you so much, Kim. You can see she was dealing with a lot of autoimmune diseases. She considered herself an autoimmune disaster, even though on the outside she was not overweight. So you don't have to be overweight to be insulin resistant. She had a lot of gut health issues. She had Hashimoto's thyroiditis. She had Crohn's. I believe she had ulcerative colitis and she was very gluten sensitive. She did everything her doctors told her to do. She ate like a rabbit. She had a personal trainer in the first picture until she discovered the protocol. And without even trying, she lost a lot of belly fat and she gained muscle, as you can see, and she's got her life back. And her husband is on it as well. And kids are on it as well. As you can see, pediatric obesity is a huge problem right now. About 33% or 50% rather of adolescents are obese or overweight. And fatty liver, diabetes, and hypertension and cholesterol is a huge thing in kids now. And so, yes, it is safe for kids to be on it. We just don't recommend that they fast, but they can absolutely safely drink the fiber and the yerba mate. And we have decaffeinated versions as well for kids. And this is Keith. Keith Newsome is, as you can see on the right, he's had a laundry list of chronic diseases. He's had diabetes for multiple years, I think several decades, chronic fatigue, high blood pressure. But the biggest thing with Keith was that he was already experiencing, at his young age, at 54, the end organ damage that diabetes causes, which is neuropathy, which led him to have a chronic ulcer and chronic wound on his foot that would not heal. And Keith spent a lot of money, $180,000. That's the cost of a home for hyperbaric oxygen in order to heal his foot. As you can see, it slightly got better, but there was still talk of possible amputation. And Keith was introduced to the system when he saw it on social media and took him a month to decide to do it. But when he did do it, you can see the difference within 3.5 months on the Filgrase system. He completely healed his diabetic foot for literally like 0.0001 of the cost of the hyperbaric oxygen. So Keith, it's not just the foot, it's his entire life that he got back. He almost died, or he did, to his own words, he did become septic because of his foot, and he died for like a minute and he was revived. And now Keith is a walking miracle, and he looks younger and younger every single day.
And let's show one more picture of what happens when you reverse insulin resistance in the gut. You age younger,
Mhm.
just way more younger. And at this time, Dr. Natasha is saying, let us highlight Keith, and then afterwards we are going to have highlight Jim Grasser to share his testimony. But Kate, the floor is yours. Please tell us your story. We have seen your pictures. Tell us your journey of health and where you were before and where you are now and what this has done.
Thank you, Dr. Dieter. Thank you, Dr. Natasha. Always good to see you. So yeah, I was type 2 diabetic for 25 plus years on a laundry list, 15 medication, 6 injections a day. I was getting injections in my eyes. Um, and and my health was really failing. And it came to a head in 2018 when I got diagnosed with Guillain-Barré, which is an autoimmune disorder that destroyed my nervous system. And then it left me with wounds that wouldn't heal. Obviously that foot wound you saw there, that wasn't the first and the only. That was my third. And that one in January of last year of 2025, it went septic. It developed in November of 24, treated it all of December, and in January it took my life when it went septic. And it was on my daughter's gender reveal party. She was celebrating finding out what she was getting for a child, and I was getting for a grandchild. And she couldn't even celebrate it because she had to come to the hospital because I was that in that bad a shape. And when I got out of the hospital, I made it my goal. I had to get healthy. I didn't know what that looked like. I didn't know what I was going to do. Um, because if I didn't, I don't think I'd be here today. And it kind of spiraled from there. And I found this protocol in May of last year on TikTok, and I watched it for about a month. And it comes with a 90-day money back guarantee. So I set my calendar and set up all my doctor's visits for that week right before I hit my 90 days so I could prove them wrong. Well, it didn't take long, and my whole outlook changed. On day one, I started it in June of last year, right after about a week after my grandson was born, and my energy was through the roof. I was, I was off 108 units of insulin in 2 days,
Wow.
and started feeling better. Within 2 weeks, my depression was gone. I didn't even realize how depressed I was until it wasn't there to look at. And the first month, I was down about 60 pounds, about 8 inches on my waist. And, or no, that was at 2 months. I'm sorry, I misspoke. That was at 2 months. I was down 14 medication, 60 pounds, 8 inches on my waist. Um, I mean, I felt incredible. And my A1C at that point was 7.5, and it had dropped to a flat 6 at 60 days. And then by 90 days, I was off all medications, no more injections. Um, and I was on 15 meds a day. I mean, that my whole life revolved around medication and food. But at the end of 90 days, I was down 75 pounds, 10 inches on my waist. My eye doctor hasn't seen my eyes look this good in over 4 years. My foot doctor was simply amazed. My cardiologist couldn't believe my blood work. Everything had come into line, you know, and my eyesight's actually improved, which, I've worn glasses for about 25 years since I got diagnosed with diabetes, and I no longer have to wear my glasses hardly at all. Um, and I've been on the protocol now for 7 months, and I'm down over 90 pounds, 14 inches on my waist. I'm stronger than I have been in the past probably 2 decades. Um, and my daughter and I were planning end of life stuff when I came out of the hospital. We no longer talk about that. That paperwork was put to the side. And in fact, when I first moved, my meds and all my diabetic stuff fit.
Pete, we lost you here. Yeah. Could you unmute you? You muted by mistake.
Yeah. And
Okay.
I don't remember where I left off, but that, you know, I had lost all hope. I thought I was broke and I wasn't going to get fixed. And this system truly gave me my life back. I like to talk about it. I got to spend the week before Christmas with my grandson. Um, and when I left the hospital, I couldn't walk, and I'm up running around now, pushing him in a grocery cart in his car seat, and watching his face light up was something I figured I'd never get to see. And it has truly saved my life had I not been introduced to this.
Thank you.
Congratulations, Keith. That is amazing. You see all the love that you're receiving in the chats. It's well deserving.
Yeah. Thank you so much for sharing your testimony. Um, Dr. Natasha, what I'd like to do is to bring on Jim Grasser to share his testimony. And then after that, we're gonna bring on Dr. Esther Ngare to share testimony. And then round it up with having there's several doctors on here today. We have Dr. B. Tazong, Dr. Esther Gary, Dr. Tiffany, Dr. Natasha, myself. So we're going to have you guys just weigh in some inputs on what you've been doing with um, how this has changed your practice and what is your whole outlook about it. Jim, thank you for being here. Thank you for assisting us with being a co-host. Please share with us your testimony. What was life before this, and how has your health changed? And teach us.
Wow, first off, hi, Dr. Natasha. How are you, Dr. Dieter?
I'm good. How are you?
I appreciate you too so much.
Thank
So thank you
you.
very much for what you do. Thank you for giving your time to this. And then also Keith. I've heard that story now a few times, and it's amazing. This guy's gotten his life back. And how do I follow that up? But I had type 2 diabetes. I had a 12.2% A1C. And at the same time that I had the 12.2% A1C, actually on the same set of blood draws, I had a 459 LDL,
Wow.
561 triglycerides, and a
Wow.
22 HDL. So that ratio was like 25.5. My cholesterol, I think, was 565. I mean, I was just I was in a really
That's
bad way.
crazy.
And they put me on what I kind of call the starter pack of medications. I was on 2,000 milligrams of metformin, a 4.5 milligram pen of Trulicity. That was the GLP-1 that I was on. And then 40 milligrams of rosuvastatin. And all of those were max doses. And I was 44 years old, and then they put me on, and I can't recall which one it was, but a blood pressure medication. And it was not a max dose. It was like a half max, but it was still, at 44 years old. And I just kind of assumed that was what life was. If you wanted to live, you had to take these things. And then I came across this. A good friend of mine, a mutual friend of ours, Anne-Marie, introduced me to this, and it changed my life. Within 43 days. So I started it January 4th. And on February 16th, I got a call from my endocrinologist. It's a saved voicemail. One of these days I'll play for you. I'll never delete the voicemail, but she told me that I could quit taking Trulicity altogether. I was done with my diabetes medications at 43 days. And then I went to see her April 20th. And on April 20th, she took me off the statin medication, which again, I didn't think I was ever coming off of that. And then in August, I was off the blood pressure medication. And actually, February 16th, so just not even a week ago, was 3 years that I've been unmedicated for type 2 diabetes. And I do wear a CGM because, I think, once you want to know, right? And so I
Yeah.
figure I will share this with you. This is my current CGM right now. That's where my blood glucose is at right now as we speak. And I'll take that all day long. That's a beautiful line. So
Yeah.
this
Yeah.
system has completely saved my life, completely saved my life. And it's changed my life. I feel amazing. Just, I don't know, it's too much to say. So
Thank you. Thank you so much for sharing that, Jim. And this is why a lot of us are giving a message of hope. And that's why you're giving this same message of hope to people who suffer from any of these conditions. Thank you for sharing your story, Jim.
thank you for having me, Dr. Dieter. Thank you, Natasha, Dr. Natasha. You guys are amazing.
Thank
Thank
you so
you.
much, Jim.
And Dr. Aston Gary, if you're on, could you turn on your
I'm right here.
there we go. Now I see you. Okay.
I gotta say
Okay.
hi to her as well. Hi, Dr. Esther.
Hi, Jim. How are you?
I'm wonderful. How are you?
Please,
I'm good.
Dr. Esther, you are a physician. You suffered with metabolic health issues. You had serious insulin resistance, and you probably had occult diabetes, even though your A1C or blood sugars were not there yet. You had weight issues. Tell us your own story as a physician, your journey from health, to reclaim to from ill health to reclaiming your health, and what's the message you have for others who are not physicians who are dealing with this issue?
Well, as you say, Dr. Dita, mine is maybe what many of us go through. You know something is wrong because you don't feel right. You're struggling, whether it's weight, fatigue, or whatever else that you just like, I know something is not right. And many of us, I'm sure, can attest to this. You've been to the doctors and they have done labs and they have told you all your labs are normal. And so you're good. But then you're wondering, but why don't I feel okay? That was actually me. And even being a physician, I knew something was wrong, but I was just checking myself with the same similar labs that I use for my patients. But when I first heard about this protocol back in January last year, before I even got to receive my product, I knew I needed to take it just because I was like, maybe it will help me not feel the way I was feeling, and maybe it will help me with weight loss. That's really just what I was looking for. But I decided, you know what, let me just do all this labs. So I actually did a fasting insulin level with my panel. Now, I'll tell you, I have never had an abnormal A1C ever. My cholesterol had just begun to be maybe inching above normal, but pretty much stable. Every once in a while, and I would say I would go to the dentist and my blood pressure would be high, but I always blamed it's because it's the dentist. In other places, it was pretty much okay. So didn't really think I was sick. But when I did my fasting insulin level, I even thought it was a lab error because it was 57.5. And I'm like,
Wow.
they just said you're supposed to have 5 and below. And I'm like, 57.5. Now, I did something where, I'll admit, I actually called the lab to ask whether that was. And they told me, yes, yeah, they told me that's what the reading was. And whenever they find this crazy stuff, they usually do like a confirmation, like repeat it. And yes, they say that was what your fasting insulin level was. It's like, okay. So anyway, I started on the protocol, and about 3 months later, because I really wanted to see what happens to that fasting insulin level. So I followed the protocol to a T, 2 teas and a fiber, 2 teas and a fiber, 2 meals a day. 3 months later, my A1, my insulin was 2.5. And since then, every time I've
Wow.
rechecked, it has been below 5, where it's, ideally supposed to be. And yes, I lost the weight. I have had more energy. Now, what I came to get surprised about is all the things I was calling this is perimenopause, and kind of separating these two things that, okay, that was metabolic dysfunction, but then I have the perimenopause symptoms. But then I realized part of what causes those perimenopause symptoms is that metabolic dysfunction is what accentuates them, because that is all gone now. That I didn't even expect. So that to me was a bonus. And so my message is your body is telling you something. There's a reason why many of us are on this call, or you've been to the doctors, something is not right. And yes, you go to the doctors. I was once that doctor where, we tell you, no, your labs look normal, but what are we really looking at? And so we know that most of these symptoms are because of metabolic dysfunction. So talk to your doctor about doing the extra labs, but also as any clinician who is on here, please go that extra step. It takes a lot to make a doctor's appointment, to go see the doctor because you're not feeling right. And when patients leave being told, no, everything's okay because the lab said everything's okay, but the patient is telling you I'm not right. So let's learn to listen to the patient. That subjective part of that SOAP note, that's the first thing. The patient is telling you something is not right with me. And if I can't find it in those basic labs, maybe let me dig some more. So that's my message to clinicians, my message to everybody else. Please insist on that extra lab. Or, this is a system that, what we're talking about here, the Feel Great system. This is something that we know does not interfere with any medications of yours. It is all natural, does not have side effects. It has the 90-day money back guarantee. So try it. Try it and see, does it solve all those things that, maybe instead of going down the rabbit hole and paying for the extra labs if the insurance would cover it, maybe just put that money towards buying your Feel Great pack. And then you're the judge because you're the one who was not feeling right. How do you feel 3 months later? So that is my message to the different groups of people.
Wow, thank you so much, Dr.
Thank
Esther.
you. We're gonna keep you on there. And Dr. B Tazong is a lifestyle medicine physician. I want you to weigh in equally on what your experience has been. And Dr. Tiffany, please, could you turn on your camera and say something so I can spotlight you? I want to add all the physicians on here.
I think I saw a
she's
message
driving.
where she said she's driving, so she can't get
Okay.
on camera,
Okay.
but she can talk.
No
Yeah.
problem. Okay.
All right.
Dr. B, your turn.
Is my camera on now? I mean, I know that
It
makes
is on. It is
makes
on.
some people happy.
It is on.
I don't care about the camera, but Dr. Dieter called me about this product. It's been a few months now. I've gotten a bunch of my family on it already, and all I can hear is I am so happy. My mother is almost 80. Both of my parents are diabetic. That should tell you I'm high risk. I've had gestational diabetes. Okay, so I know that I'm sitting on the fence and I have to do everything in my power to stop it. And so this has just been such a breath of relief for me because even though I'm a physician, we struggle with a lot of things, not only for ourselves, but our families and our patients, because it's easy to put people on medications, but people have side effects. People have to deal with the fallout. And then I know things are changing now, but there have been a lot of challenges with people getting their medications. So I always think to myself, how can we make this thing easier for our patients? How can we make it easier for people to help themselves? And this came as just such a welcome answer, using this product on a regular basis. I put my dad on it too. My dad is diabetic, but both of my parents are diabetic, but for different reasons. My mom is more on the obesity side. My dad, I think, is more for type 1/type 2. But I'm watching them closely, and all I'm hearing from them, one, they're just feeling really good. My mom loves the product. In fact, I started her first because I wanted it to supplement for weight loss too, and I was kind of worried because my father he does not need to lose weight. And so I had to get my mom on it for like a month and a half, see how she did with it before I put my dad on it. So I put him on a modified dosing, and I told him, I said, you do not need to fast because he cannot lose any more weight. But he's on the product, and one of the big things they tell me, they just feel much better. Their mood is different. My mom says she feels much, much younger, and both of my parents are right about their 80s. And so there's just not a limit to how good this thing works. Whether the young children, I've given it to my children, they love it. and I can't say enough about it. I would say that I one of the things that we have to address for people is they're asking, why should I do this if I can just get some pills to get me to lose weight? The truth is that those pills have side effects. And the other truth is that with the insurance landscape that we're dealing with right now, you're not going to get coverage forever. Those medications are expensive. Insurance companies will do anything in their power not to pay for stuff if they don't have to pay for it. And even the people, I know people that have been paying GLP-1s for, and then they'll just tell you, hey, after 2 years, we're cutting it off. So what do you do after that? You have to invest in yourself.
And then the weight gain will come back after you get off the GLP ones.
Exactly. Or if you do a bypass surgery, 60% of people will gain that weight back after 5 years. So I think this is just a win-win. It's a power tool for each human being where you have control of your life. And yes, you may take a little bit of your money and invest it, but what else to better invest in than your health, you know? I also like what Dr. Ngari said, because there's a lot of things that we don't talk about in medicine. Women struggle a lot. When you're a woman and you're beginning, they call it a woman of a certain age, you're hitting your late 30s, going into your 40s, you're going to start having some issues because you start having those hormonal changes leading into menopause. And a lot of women are dealing with a lot of hellish issues tied to that. And like Dr. Ngari said, yes, there's perimenopausal symptoms, but people who are in good health and who take good care of themselves have significantly better outcomes. And Unicity, if it's helping you with chronic inflammation, is going to make your life so much better with respect to perimenopausal symptoms. And that also ties into hormonal. Anything that increases inflammation in your body is under the chopping block when it gets to Unicity. So I can't say enough about it. I just want to keep pushing it. It helps you, it gives you power, and it allows you to just make a commitment to staying healthy. Thank you.
Thank you very, very much, Dr. B. And we we do this every Sundays and Mondays. The questions that we've been answering in the chat, we hope that we have answered as many questions. There's some questions that have come up about where do I get this product from? If you were invited on here today, you came on here today because somebody invited you, somebody shared this Zoom link with you. The best way and the best way you can get this product is to reach out to the person who invited you. They have the person who invited you has a link that you can use, a discount code that you can use to get this product. So please reach out to whoever invited you. They can give you a discount code where you can get this product from. Now, you've had us doctors on here. You've had the testimony of Jim Grasser. You had the testimony of Keith. It is our mission to change the lives of at least 100,000 people this year, to impact the health of at least 100,000 people. And because of that, we do these calls regularly, 2 times a week at this time, every Sunday and every Monday. So if you were on here today, we're going to be doing this call and you were on here for the first time. Thank you for sharing your evening with us. If you were on here today and you've not had enough and you want to hear this again, join us again tomorrow. And if there was somebody who you wish, man, I wish my brother could have had this could have given him hope. Or I wish my uncle could have had this could have given him hope. I encourage you, invite them to come join us tomorrow. We're going to be doing the same session tomorrow using the same Zoom link which you used tonight at the same time. So invite them to come and listen to this hopeful message that you can reclaim your health again. And if there were some questions that were not answered, we apologize, and hopefully you can come back tomorrow and pose those questions. But we've run out of time a little bit today, and we want to be respectful to people's time. But it is Dr. Natasha, Dr. Esther Ngare, Dr. B. Tazong, Jim Grasser, Keith, and to all of you guys who helped us to be co-hosts. We want to thank you, and we look forward to working with you guys again. tomorrow, and we want to get this message out. I'll end by saying this. We are always looking for people to partner with us. We don't have enough people sharing the good news that diabetes is reversible. We don't have enough people sharing the good news that depression is reversible. We don't have enough people sharing the good news that high blood pressure, you name whatever chronic illness, is reversible. And so we are always looking for people to partner with us to take this message of hope to as many people as possible. So if you were on here today and there was something that spoke to you, that resonated with you, and you want to be part of this mission, reach out to whoever invited you and say, look, I want to partner with you guys. I want to be one of the messengers giving this message of hope. We would like to work with you to help us in our mission to influence the lives of at least 100,000 people this year. Thank you and good night. Invite a friend, invite a coworker, invite a family member tomorrow to join us at the same time with the same link. Thank you and good night. And if you need this recording, reach out to the person who invited you. This recording will be available through them. Thank you. Good night.